SA Rugby is back. We're happy to have SA Rugby back.
Of course, of
Uh,
course.
New Zealand Rugby was back. We cared. Australian Rugby was back. Not so much. We did not care. But SA Rugby is back. We're happy.
No, they at least gave us a little bit of a fix, just to just to get us back into the swing of things. But yeah, it's good to have SA Rugby back,
Back.
man. Really.
Super Fan Saturday. SA Rugby is back. First podcast.
Mhm.
What a better time than SA Rugby back.
Yeah, let's go.
You know what
Let's
I'm
go.
saying?
Let's
You know
do
what I'm
this.
saying? Unfiltered rugby opinions, unbiased rugby opinions, maybe slight Lions bias, but let's get into it. Let's get into it. I'm joined by my illustrious guest, Kristen Como.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, let's just talk some rugby. First off, Sharks versus Bulls match. If you had told me before this was going to be the more entertaining of the two, I wouldn't have necessarily believed you. But at the same time, I think there was a lot to take away from this game. There were quite a few positions up for grabs, some injuries. But I think it was more intriguing. You've got a Bulls team led by Jake White, Is it going to be a marriage that works? I think it is. I don't know. What do you think?
I think, look, so far, initially I had my reservations, because of, the limited knowledge that I have about the history of Jake White. But when he was Springbok coach, I know that he had issues with the Bulls and, even his history with some of the Bulls guys, But at the moment, it looks like he's off to a good start, He came in all guns blazing, clearing house, sending guys away. But look,
That's the thing. That's the thing
I was
about
surprised.
him. That is the
Yeah,
thing
he's that
about
guy.
him. He's that guy. I think he's sort of like Jose Mourinho. Like, you bring him in, he's gonna make changes. The changes, you're gonna get wins. It might not look good, but you're gonna get wins, and he's gonna make changes. A Sharks team that they were said to be contenders for the Super Rugby title before the whole thing got shut down. Some had them as favorites even, but personally, myself, I did not have them as favorites. I'm not a believer. I'm not a believer.
No, but Kodes, I think you're being too harsh, man. Like, I honestly, I think, look, what I saw on the weekend, I didn't expect the kind of sort of performance from just the overall group as a whole, from the Sharks guys. I was look, I'm a Sharks guy, of course, so I'm going to defend my team, But I think to me it just looked like it was more really about a hit out.
Yeah.
I didn't see any structure there.
I definitely thought this game was more of a trial game than the second game. It had more of that feel.
Yeah, but even though it had that feel, like one thing you have to respect Jake White for is that he always has structure, and you could see that even when he made his changes, is that you could see that the guys were playing to a particular plan. Obviously we wouldn't have inside knowledge of how he exactly wants to play, but everybody knows it's Jake White is always set piece orientated, scrums.
No, definitely. I felt like there was a better coach team on the day. I really felt like they used their time well, whereas the Sharks, I don't think they necessarily did. It looked like, one of those meet up in the car park, and it's just, like, I don't know, man.
Like it looked more like a club game, because at some stage you had two scrum offs on the field.
Let's get to that actually. Let's go into the Sharks game. My first take early on, Miller Duplessis. I felt like he did well before he got injured. I felt like my Pimpy is off to Japan. That 11 jersey is vacant, so I feel like he did enough to secure that. It's his to lose. A number of those sevens guys coming in, I felt like he was the first one to impress. That was early on before he got taken off. I don't know. Do you have anything to say about that?
I think, yeah, look, I liked he looked good. Miller Duplessis looked good, and I think overall, just the sevens guys, they always, they always have a superior kind of, physicality, even skill set to the 50s guys. I
That
think because
one-on-one,
yeah,
one-on-one skills.
because they focus more on the micro skills, But I liked him. He looked good, Who I also liked from the Sharks was a little guy, man, Tariq Abrams. When he came on,
Yeah, he blew hot and cold. He announced
look,
himself, but he blew hot and cold.
look, he blew hot and cold. But I think in a game like that, it was sort of expected, and it just looked like maybe he was trying to do a bit too much. Although I kind of like him as a prospect, like we got to give the little guys a chance. I think
No,
Cheslin's
I agree.
shown us.
Yeah, no, I agree fully.
Cheslin's shown us what can be done. But overall, look, I liked. Again, look, is my guy. Sanele Nohamba. He looked for me. He looked very good. He looked very snappy. It's just I don't think there's a lot of pack cohesion. It just didn't look like.
That's the thing. I felt like Noche and Nohamba did well behind a pack that wasn't necessarily going forward. I feel like you know what you're going to get out of Nohamba. You know what you're going to get out of Noche. You know what you're going to get out of in situations where they don't necessarily have the best support around them. I felt like this game, and in both games, you sort of, those guys, you know what they are, you know who they are.
Yeah, that's true. And I would like to just to add there, because we can't talk about 8, 9 and skip the 10. I was a bit disappointed and somewhat frustrated with Kerr and Bosch, because I felt when I was looking at that Sharks attack, it just looked like he wasn't being a general, he wasn't directing play, and he was just sitting in the pocket. It just looked like all he wanted to do was just to catch the ball and pass it. He wasn't engaging.
He's lemon and herb. He's lemon and herb. There's no spice. There's no spice with that man. He's not. But I mean, if we go into it, Lubbock was there. He played at 15. I don't necessarily like him at 15. I like Lubbock as a player. I'm happy that he got out of his situation with the Bulls. I'm not that happy that he's at the Sharks. You sort of look at the brand of rugby that he plays and think, maybe he would have been better suited to other unions. And then, you've got to ask questions of himself as to why he put himself in that situation at the Bulls. But, if you think of your path to the top, who looks like him, who plays like him that made it to the top at the Bulls? There's nobody. But then you think of the Stormers, there's Colby, there's Aplon, those type of players. And then, but the bag, maybe the bag is just too much there at the Bulls.
I think.
But like I said, I don't like him at 15, but I feel like they're not going to play him at 10 because Kellen Bosch is their guy. They've backed him for the most part.
Yeah.
Besides the Dupree saga, they've backed him for the most part, and it looks like they're going to keep him there.
Yeah, sorry to go there, but I think it doesn't play into Lubbock's favor, because I agree with you that at 15, I don't necessarily like him at 15. Even when he was at the Bulls, I don't like him at 15. I wanted to see him at 10 because I think he's got good touches. I actually think he can even be a better controller of the game. Potentially, I know it's a big statement that I'm making, but I think potentially he could even develop into a better 10 than Damian Willemse, just if we're looking at young up-and-coming flowers that are coming through. And even better than Kerr and Bosch, because, look, I wasn't impressed at all, and hopefully, common sense prevails and rugby decisions are made, because you can't guarantee a guy a spot if he's not playing well, and at some point, if Bosch doesn't deliver, look, you got to give Lubbock a chance. It's unfortunate that Fassi was out. So of course, Lubbock, I think his demise is going to be the fact that he can play both positions. And they'll mess him around. But hopefully they don't and they give him a shot. Because
I mean, I'm hoping to see him maybe. At Craven Week he played 13 and he was very influential there. And I mean, you've got a situation where you've got and Jeremy Ward starting. And I mean, Ward, for me, at times he couldn't handle Cornell Hendricks. He didn't look too sharp for me. So, I mean, for me, having seen him play 13 at Craven Week, I would definitely give him a shot there. Needs help.
Yeah,
That's
that's the
also
thing.
what I'm taking away.
He needs a stable partner at 12, I think, because right there, if you're looking at that backline, if we're just simply looking at the guys that are out there on the weekend, okay, potentially a guy like Miller Duplessis with the sevens background, it doesn't necessarily have to play wing. Potentially could play at 12 because in sevens they need to distribute the ball as well. And defense, one-on-one defense is important. Maybe there's just some issues around defensive patterns, defending it in the centers that they're probably working on. But I agree with you. Needs the help because even the who's the guy that came on with
around the 60-minute mark, there was a lot of changes, and Marius Lowe came on, and he was definitely pushing for that starting position. I mean, he was a lot more impressive than Ward.
Yeah,
so I think he'll be pushing for that.
Look, I think with Jeremy Ward, what you have in there, you have a guy he's going to work hard for you. He's not flashy. He's going to give his all. I think seeing him from the Kings when even I think he was a Grey High, is it? Back in those days. So I think he's solid enough. I just don't know whether or not he can sort of make that step up to be, a really sort of maybe not a physically dominant 12, but an influential inside center. Yeah, because like you pointed out, Cornel Hendricks has played wing mostly. I've never seen him play at 12, and I was surprised.
He came in at 13 and he had a shocker earlier in the season, so it was a big surprise.
Yeah, and I was surprised Jeremy Ward couldn't contain him at 12, because you'd expect, he's played 12 or in the centers majority of it, or probably all his life, all his career, but mostly throughout his career he's played in the centers. So it's like you'd have expected a guy that has played in that position to be able to contain Hendricks. He was beating him on footwork. He was rushing out of the line. It was just, I don't know. It just doesn't look stable enough on the day. But then again, the whole Sharks team didn't look stable enough on the day. So
they didn't.
I don't want to read too much into that performance, but rather just saying that it was just a hit out for them, and probably we're going to see the real deal in 2 weeks' time. When
and there were a few shining lights, as you said, Takia Abrams. Then they had the situation where they've got 3 scrum halves. You've got Nahamba starting. You've got Grant Williams that comes in and is seamless. He looks like a good guy to take over. Second half of the match. Last quarter, he looks like a guy that can come in and work seamlessly. And then you've got Jaden Hendricks who comes on and looks like a starter.
Yeah.
So
look. I think they have a headache for themselves, because they don't know. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that Hendricks are potentially. I'm not too sure if it's him. I think he can play fly off as well. Or I've also seen Nohamba play at 10 as well. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how they.
And there was a situation where Hendricks was still on the field with Grant Williams. So, we'll see how they figure that out. But like you said, it's a good headache to have. Same thing, Pepsi Buthelezi was another shining light.
That's my guy.
But again, I feel like he's another guy where it's like he plays similar to Noche. I would have liked to see him and Nohamba play together. But I feel like at this stage, we also, he's a young guy, but we know what he brings. So just good performance. I'm excited to see him play some more minutes. And let's get to the Blue Bulls.
Before we go into the Bulls, I was a little bit disappointed by Ox's scrumming. Look, of course he was going up against this Nyaga. He's a seasoned campaigner. He knows his stuff. But that short scrum was struggling, even Thomas. Look, I was concerned, man. Even from the tight phase play as well. It was really, like I said, it just didn't look like there was pack cohesion, But still to be seen. Super Rugby Unlock kicks off in 2 weeks, so let's see what.
That's the thing. I felt like Ox is always going to give you that work around the field, but at the same time, you look at that Bulls front row. You've got Policeman, Jacques Van Rooyen. You've got Nyakani. I feel like they're both X-Factor players. I feel like they both work around the park. I feel like it's a very solid combination and sort of guys that work well and play well together. Like I said, they looked a better coach team. Like you said, even in the scrums, they were dominant. This Bulls team, Jake White's taken over. I think it's going to work. For how long, I don't know. Straight from the beginning, my first take was Stedman Khan. He's sort of a player where, you talk about Jeremy Ward trying to establish himself. I think of Stedman Khan coming in and from age group rugby, from varsity cup rugby, trying to establish himself, and he couldn't do it first time round. He's gone to play sevens, and right now he's looking like an established number 13. He looked the part. He looked the part. The same can be said for Curtly Aronson, which is surprising to me because I thought, I thought both of them would struggle to establish themselves, but they look great. They look the part. Curtly Aronson even looks like he's bulked up a bit. I heard he missed his flight to the Bok camp, but that's another story. That's another story.
That's another story. But I think for me, those guys, I think it always goes back to, that contentious issue in South Africa about giving guys a chance. One thing that I will take my hat off to Jake White for is that he's been willing to give players a chance, and I think as well, as much as he has his ways, he's also willing to sort of to adapt and evolve with what the resources that he has in front of him, because look, as you said, looking at Stedman Khan, his touches, just the way that he was playing, it really looks like this guy looks like it's his fifth year in Super Rugby. He fits in like a glove, and you could argue that he could easily seamlessly slot into sort of a higher honor setup. I know again you don't want to project too much, but just by the look of the player, he's been exposed to a high performance environment with the Sevens, so I don't see why he wouldn't be able to make that transition as well, because he's shown that already on the weekend with these touches. Curtly Aronson, I think, geez, yeah, what a try, what a try. That's gas for days, and what I like about the Sevens guys is that physicality that they brought. They physicality, the breakdowns, how they're
very accountable for their own, their own workspace, and the one-on-one tackling, one-on-one at the breakdown. That's the benefit of them.
Yeah, and I won't lie, like if you're looking at that overall, just the way that Jake White put together that Bulls backline, it was surprising, but the sort of the slickness, they look slick to me. They look slick, in terms of the way that they were moving the ball around, the way that they were running into the spaces, as compared to how the Sharks were playing. They had more direction, and like you said, they look the better coach team on the day overall for me.
Yeah, you've got a guy like Cornel Hendricks, coming into the side. That I told you I'd seen him at 13. He had a few bad defensive reads. Not great at 13. You would have thought before the game, looking at the squad, you would have thought that maybe Clinton Swart would have started there. You wouldn't have said Cornel Hendricks, and then he comes in there, and they've had a bit of a crisis at center. Whether 13 or 12, they've had a bit of a crisis at center. They've got rid of their captain Berger Ozendaal. You've got to wonder what's up, and then you slot Cornel Hendricks in there, and he has a great game. He looked like Jeremy Ward couldn't handle him. He looked like he's bounced up a bit. It was a great performance for me. He was linking well with Aplon. Aplon, you know what you're gonna get. He's solid. He's another guy that I wouldn't have necessarily said was a Jake White guy. Before France, you think of Springbok selections. Jake White's got his criteria. I don't think Aplon falls into that. So it's a surprising one, but it looks like it's he's backed him and it's working.
Yeah, and I think with that, look, it goes back to what I was saying. He's evolved in his ways in terms of his thinking because he's seen that you know it's not all about size. It's about that ability. I mean, the game is going there. Where it's really it's more up tempo, fast pace, and literally you can't leave guys like Clear Upload out. Yes, he's an unexpected selection. I mean, he's like 38. But in terms of I think as well how Jake White likes to set up his teams. He likes to have leaders, guys that have experience in the back. And then now he's more incorporating the X factor type of players as well. And I think we saw that with those strike players. With the young guns. Curtly, Arensa. But it confuses me because you let go of Roscoe, Speckman. It's just, and he was light. He was shooting out the lights of the Bulls. I think early on in the season and last season he was the guy that you could say he would deliver for the Bulls. Particularly from a back three perspective. But
he's got his
overall,
criteria. He's got his criteria. Berger Odendahl also fell. Same thing. He's got his criteria. I mean, he just signed a new 2-year contract and out the door.
So yeah, it's interesting. But one thing that I did find that I noted, I haven't been a fan of those guys, even van Zyl, from a scrum off perspective. But then again, it goes to show he had a solid game. Give a guy a good pack, and you can actually see why Rassie Erasmus had him in as a Springbok. I think it was 2018 where they went to Wales, where they went to the States to play Wales. Uh, and for me, I think look, he had a solid game, and it is generally in line with the way that Jake wants his nines. Where the nine must be able to kick and control the game from there, have a good pass. And I think he did that. With Monet Steyn as well. Look, yes, you'd have questions to say, but you know who he is. You know what you're going to get, and I think I can't fault Jake White for going that route, especially if you're a new coach and a new setup. You're going to get a guy.
And I mean, we saw at that 60-minute mark when they made changes. I mean, they've got depth at 10. They've got Christmas. They've got Clinton Swart that also came and then was linking well. So I mean,
so they look good.
Box out the door.
Yeah, you can because look, with those guys again, based on experience or experiences or their experiences in Varsity Cup, a guy like Chris Smith, I think was it Booker was it that he played for?
No, I think he was at Steady.
Is it Stellenbosch or
yeah, I think
Booker?
so. I think he was at Stellenbosch.
Yeah, but nonetheless, that those guys have come through those ranks, and they can play at that level. And Jake White, what he's always looking for is a 10 that can dictate the play, that can kick, put teams into corners, and very much almost like a test match kind of blueprint where you're going to get tight games and you need a guy that can get you out of a hole and can kick the goals. So I think he's pretty well covered there. For me, the other sort of contentious point, or not even contentious, it's just slightly, I felt like Embarus Papiri didn't really do himself justice when he came on. To be fair, he didn't. I know it was a different sort of pack that he was playing with, but I don't feel like he grabbed his opportunity with both hands.
Yeah.
I felt like
I feel like that has been a problem for him.
I think he was just trying to do a bit too much. He's a great talent, definitely. There's no doubt. But I just want to see him do better. I think he can. I don't think we've seen his full potential as yet. It's something that hopefully he can sort of lift his game and really put some stiff competition for Ivan van Zyl. Otherwise, the Bulls' story is going to be the same old, without really saying too much about what the same old is. So yeah.
He'll find his way to the Sharks as well. Hey. But anyway, let's move on. Yeah, he'll definitely do well there. Next game, Stormers Lions. Like I said, I would have thought this one would have been the more entertaining of the two. It wasn't. It wasn't exciting at all. It was just largely, you know what you're going to get from these guys. You've got Yanchis, you know what you're going to get from him, Krios, Kosan. You know, you've got these type of guys where it was less of a trial game, like I said. The Lions, they did look sharp in the beginning. It was good to see Similani start. Good to see that they're backing their man. There was the whole contract dispute. Is he going? Is he staying? They're looking like they're backing their man. I believe you have to back your man. He might not be Mr. Right now, but he's Mr. Right. So,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe selections, maybe he's not the strongest guy to go into this game, but, you know, if you signed him and you think he has ball potential, you've got to let the guy play. He didn't have a great game, but it was just good to see him starting in the 13th position. Yeah, that's from me all that can be said about the Lions.
Yeah, but look, you know, I think with the Lions, yeah, I think with the Lions, they were just a little bit off the mark, you know, from particularly from a pack perspective. I think that's where they lost it, you know, for me, because the Stormers went to great, but let's focusing on the Lions, you know, the Lions, I think they lost their edge a little bit when they were being scrummed, you know, and you know what they say, you know, the forwards, they set the tone up front, and I kind of feel like they allowed that to dent their confidence, because there were some great touches.
In both games it was like that.
I mean, the great touches from Alton. You look, like you said, you know what you're going to get from Alton, and for me, he's shown he is in the country right now. If we're to go on this past weekend, he is the best 10 that we have in the country, you know. And I feel like he varied his play very well. You know, he didn't just always try to run the ball. He did, you know, whenever it wasn't on, he'd try an alternative option of putting up the bomb or 50-50 bomb, which, you know, the Lions would get back. I think the accuracy, they were just a bit off, particularly in that first half. And I think that scrum dominance of the Stormers sort of, that pushed them a bit back into their shell, because I would have thought that the Lions, would have at least won that game. Although, yeah, I think they're a work in progress, and when they do get it right, I know it's a new coach. I don't rate the defensive or the strength and conditioning coach being the head coach, but story for another day. But I think when they do get it right, I think they'll be very dangerous, because if you noticed, you know, if you're going back to when we were talking about the structure in terms of the Sharks and whatever, with the Lions, what I really liked about them is that when they made the changes, because they changed the whole team, that second team that came on in that second half, I felt like those guys really lifted the tempo, you know, and they really put the heat on.
There was a lot of cohesion in the second team, yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of cohesion, and you could see that they were sticking to whatever it is that they had set out to do for that game, and they came really close to pulling that one out the fire, you know. So for me, that's why I say I feel like that Lions team, just a few tweaks here and there, I think.
But that also goes to the fact that the second team has also been together as a unit for some time. So I mean, those guys have probably played in the lower level competitions together for time. True. They've been training for time. Those young guys, they've been in the system for time. So I think it goes to that as well. I think that's a good thing as a union, that you're able to put out two sides like that. Whereas you look at like the Sharks, and it was just,
yeah,
those changes at the 60-minute mark is sort of like, what's the point here? What are we doing here? So I think it reflected well on the Lions as a union, having those two lineups and letting guys go. So
yeah, and still keeping that sort of that same standard of play. I think even potentially even eclipsing altitude aside. Even they honestly, I think overall they look better than the Stormers. It's just they didn't create enough. They didn't manage their breakdowns enough, and then those chances that they gave the Stormers managed to take them.
The Stormers, Salan, he looks like he's been a Stormers player for a number of years in that team already. He looked like a changed man. It goes to the whole thing about choosing the union that's best for the style of play. Because I mean, with him, he was always, the path to the top was always secured. You know he's always going to make it. But sort of the way that you want to play rugby is the ball's the best place for you. But again, the bag, the money.
It's about the bag. We
So
all
he's
know.
looking good. That's. I hope that translates, and I think it's going to translate into his Bok form. You had Malherbe, who looks like he's had a few months off, but it was effective. That's all I'll say. It looks like he's had some months off, but yeah, the scrums are working. I can't talk badly about the man. I can't talk badly about the man.
You can't. All you can say is he must invite us to the next braai, hopefully, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. This guy.
But he's scrumming.
Definitely, but
yeah, like his scrumming was good, to the point where you could see the Stormers don't want to lose that game, where they even had to bring him on just to come and stabilize their scrum, and for me, I think if I was looking at it, if I was looking at all those teams, if I was the Stormers, I'd be more concerned, in terms of from a depth perspective, because I don't feel like I saw enough from the guys that came on to sort of say, okay, the Stormers are in a healthy position, outside of one or two shining lights like Nama Klaba, who came on.
Yeah, definitely.
Shit, man, excuse my language, but yes, that kid played very well. When he came on, he was in the breakdowns, he was getting stuck in. I feel like there's one or two calls that he was just unlucky, but really there.
And that's the thing, you want veterans to play on that line. So I mean, you've got to. That's the game you play.
Yeah, and I feel like he had a very good game. At halfback for the Stormers, I'd be worried. Because outside of Herschel Yankees, yes, they've got that thing is Paul de Vet, is it? And there's he's a good player, but can he lift it? Can he take it up?
You look at Smith that came on for the Lions, and
exactly that energy that he brought, because you want, I think, especially the way that the game is going nowadays, you want your 9 or the guy that's going to come on in the second half to come in to lift the tempo. It's either, depending on what your team objectives are, if you want to lift the tempo in that second half of the game, or you're looking to close out the games, you got to have a guy that's going to be able to execute that. And I just feel like Paul de Vet he's solid. He's just solid enough to be there, but he's not. I would have loved to see a guy like, not knowing why he didn't play. I think probably had some injury issues or whatnot. But Godlin Masimla, I would have liked to see him also, to see what he can do, because his name has been around in the rugby fraternities, and you haven't really seen him also take that opportunity with both hands. And that's the issue that I'd say with the Stormers, and even from a pack perspective, the guys that were on, not all of them stuck up their hands to say, okay, no, I'm ready to make that step up to the next level. I'm ready to contend. I'm ready to force a coach to make a decision, to drop a high profile player. Like a guy like Nama Klaba, I can argue that he made a case, where a certain high profile individual, if you had to compare and say, okay, well, this individual had a blinder, as a youngster, and he took his chance. And the other, okay, maybe, returning from injuries and things like that, they play a part. But yeah, like I say, if I was the Stormers setup, I would be slightly concerned because of the depth, and even I'd be more concerned about my 10. That's I have.
Yeah, I think he's a bit off form.
It's concerning, because look, Damian Willems is good. There's no doubt he's got the talent. He's talented, but you kind of feel like what you want to see from your 10 is somebody that's going to take the game by the scruff of the neck and dictate that game, where he had that opportunity against the Lions. I feel like, particularly that first half when they were up, he had that chance to really put his foot on the throat and show his class, whether it be from a tactical kicking perspective. I just felt like it just looked like he was a bit apprehensive in his decision-making, where maybe a pass, maybe not a pass, or maybe a cross kick into the space behind the defense was on, but you'd rather choose to take it up by himself, and you got to think, your 10 has got to play the other guys into the game, it can't just be about him, and yeah, I just, like I say, I'm just slightly concerned, and I hope that he can hit form pretty soon. Otherwise, yeah, it's not gonna it's not going to bode well for the Stormers, But it was good to see the youngsters like this is Rikus Pretorius. I've rated him as a center, as a big boy. He's good for the baby box as well. So it was good to see him play at 12. I don't think he had a blind over game. I think he was just solid enough. That's just from my assessment of him. We'll see how he goes in the coming Super Rugby Unlocked. I think we have to give it a chance. I think overall,
we'll see guys with more game time. There's some guys that need more game time than others to get going.
Yeah, because you know what they say, the cream will rise to the top. So let's let them be in the pressure cooker for a few more weeks, and let's see, what we're going to get. But just like I said, for me overall, I'd be more. If I was the Stormers, I'd be the most worried, because what's going to happen if they have injuries? Do they have the guys that can step up and deliver? And I'm basing it on this game, on what I saw from the Lions. I was very encouraged by what I saw with that second team that came on to say, look, they look healthy, and that union looks like they're in a healthy place. We forgot to mention, even from the Lions, Gianni Lombard coming on. It was good to see him back off the injury as well. And as a young 10, because it looks like they're backing him at 10, they're priming him to take over from Alton possibly. And when you're looking at a team like that, where they're able to bring on that sort of talent, in the second half and maintain that sort of standard of play, and you compare that to Stormers, like I say, I'm a bit concerned.
But we'll see going forward. And let's move on to Springbok Showdown this weekend. Let's talk selections, more importantly, selection snubs. Are there any players that you feel should have been there? Are there any players that you feel are questionable in those squads? Personally, for me, I feel like Manjezi is the biggest snub. I'd have liked to see him play. I'd have even liked to see him possibly start. Rabs, maybe not anyone else really, but I mean, at the same time, you look at a lot of those guys, and you also, some of them you feel like they've been given the chance once or twice already, and now this is their fifth, fourth, sixth chance. So I mean, what do you think about selections?
Yeah, look, I can agree with you there. Like where you get like Osinto Manjezi, you could argue that look, he's been a workhorse. I mean, even so for the Cheetahs in the Pro 14 as well. Like he really did impose himself in that pack. And show himself.
Manjezi and Rab should be there. If we're talking,
you understand? Yeah, because Rabs as well. I think wasn't he top try scorer in the Pro 14?
Yeah, dream team as well, everything. So
he was in the dream team
as well. If you're talking about that type of form, then yes.
So yeah, I can agree with you there on those selections. There's nobody else that does come to mind, but one thing that I can say that I do sort of question is, look, I understand a guy like Ono Botha, he is a Springbok, he is capped, but on what basis, does he just doesn't make the cut? I know, I understand it was a draft pick and things like that, but it's things like that.
Girlfriend that left you and walks right back into your life.
You know what I mean? It just came back, and now he's back in. And you have to ask the question. To say, okay, on what basis? Okay, fine. Probably
they're not even asking where were you.
It's just no, come back.
Not asking where were you last night. Just come back. Just come back.
Not they say, ask no questions, hear no lies. You know what I mean? So
exactly. So you just walk back into your life. I mean, we'll see. I mean, looking at the two teams, I'm not overly excited. The balance of the teams, I'm not too sure. I would have liked to see a bit more cohesion in selection, but the ones I am excited for, I'm excited to see Francois Steyn and Simulani. I'm excited to see those guys together. I'm excited to see Oxenchair and Yakani together. Mbonambi between them as well.
Between them as well, yes.
That I feel like that's going to be, a good front row to see. It's going to, and then I think they're against an all Stormers front row. So, I
Yeah,
think it'll be a good
it is.
test.
It is an all Stormers front row. Kits off and Dubeni. I was happy for Skara to see him play, because geez, hopefully he can be injury free, and hopefully this weekend as well he can. Look, I know it's a showdown or whatever, but I think really it's just good for me. What I like is just that they've done something different. They've cast the net wide,
Yeah,
and they've basically shown guys to say,
out of
listen,
the ordinary. I was saying, I think the last time this happened was at Loftus, and I think Brent Russell was like the breakout guy.
Yeah, Jesus, it was a while back, huh? It was a long time ago, So, and I kind of feel like if they're going to do this, I think they do need to try and make this a fixture, where annually we do see this kind of game where a draft pick is picked off, the top elite players, the up and coming junior players, so we can see a variety.
I suppose they've gone for this. They've gone for this instead of sort of the state of origin, which I would have liked to see. I think that would have been a good one.
I think that would have been good for a tournament, as opposed to the Super Rugby Unlocked. To rather have it as, to have that. I think that would have been a spectacle because, we would have been interested. We people would be, if you think about guys from Brakpan, the Falca and whatnot, they'd be interested, to see, their players, the guys that have come through their systems, playing in playing at that level, seeing guys that are probably like Springboks or that are top Super Rugby players that have come through the Falca system as well at age group level. It would have been something. I think it would have been something very interesting, something different, and give us really a boost, around the whole game on a regional basis, But overall, I just think this weekend it's going to be a game. I'm interested to see the green team. Is Mohamba and Alton.
That was another partnership I had down. Is that I'm keen to see them as well.
And what I like about that is that he Dwayne Vermeulen is at 8, so you already know that he's gonna have a solid base at number 8. Where he can do his thing. He's very good, and what I like as well is that he's snappy. He complements Alton in the sense, or he reminds me a bit of a Faf, where his speed to the breakdown is there, speedy service. He's gonna run with the ball. He's fearless, So yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm excited, and also some of the Kings guys that got a chance, like the Malcolm Yaz, Yao Peng, those guys. For me, I'm happy. I'm happy for those guys because, geez, it's about time that the net gets cast pretty wide, So I think it'll be an interesting weekend. I think it'll really be an interesting weekend. The other thing is from the goal team. I don't know what you think about that back three. Kalan Speckman, that Bulls history that they have. And then you've got Lukanyam he is slick and he's stable at 13 as well. And then you've got that youngster, Ricus Pretorius, that I was speaking about from the Stormers, where, he's a big ball carrier. And then you've got, I'm not too sure. I don't think Sir Jill Peterson will be playing because I believe he has an injury.
An injury.
So
I don't know. I think when I think of that team, I think of Speckman. I don't know. I'm not too keen on him. The center combinations as well. It's like one of those things where I don't know if the balance is right, but I mean it's one of those things where maybe they play together and once you've seen it, it comes together. So right now I'm not too big on it right now, but maybe once I've seen it, it'll come together in a better way. Sinatla is also one of those guys where I feel like this is his 6th chance, so I'm not too keen on that. But we'll see how it goes. Once you see. Maybe these things will come together.
Yeah, hopefully they do, Hopefully they do. I think Sinatla, if you're talking about him, look, I just hope the guy can just sort of, I think he just needs to settle into the 15s game and not try to do too much. You know, I think maybe he knows that pressure where, or maybe it may not be pressure on himself where, you know, he knows coming from the 7 setup where when he got the ball, he had to make something happen, you know, because it's that one-on-one situation where maybe in the 15s game, he's not working himself into the game, working himself into those positions, because you have seen touches where he's done that, you know, and I think it's also probably just that confidence factor, you know, and I think once he can get his confidence in the 15s, I think he'll be a very interesting prospect to see, you know, to see playing in an 11 or 14 jersey, you know. I think he'll be a good addition to any 15-man team if he can find that confidence. I think that's what's lacking with him, is just that 15-man confidence. Because in sevens, you put him in the sevens jersey, he's fine. You know, it's just that 15-man's confidence that you would need, I rate.
And yeah, I think that's it for the episode. Hopefully we come back next week with good things to say. A review of the Showdown. As a rugby, I mean, it's looking good. And that's it from me. Any closing remarks?
Oh, no, for me, it's just a matter of looking forward to the weekend, you know, looking forward to the game and seeing, and just seeing how they're going to put together the different plays, how the guys are going to gel, the different guys that haven't played together before, things like that. So yeah, I think we can recap this, you know, next week and see what the result is. From the looks of it, I'm backing green. You know, I'm backing green. Coach Stick. Let's see. Even though I like Dion Davids, but I'm backing Stick. You know, so let's see.
We'll see. Yeah, that's it, guys. Podcast episode number 1 done.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you to the illustrious guest, co-host Christopher Nkomo.
Thank you so much, Coach. Thanks for having me,
man. And it's been a good episode. Signing off. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.